What's happening, everybody? Tyrone Bowman Live News. Let's talk about a couple of things that are happening in the country and around the world. And I will also bring some news reports from the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, as well. As I'm getting started today, I want to say thank you to all of you who have subscribed to Tyrone Bowman Live. Glad to have you on board. And as always on this channel, I never censor anyone. I don't block anybody. I don't censor anybody, pro or con, whether people agree with me or disagree. It's good. Healthy dialogue is always good dialogue. So everybody's welcome, pro and con. All right, up first. As reported in The Guardian, this article was written by Hugo Lowell. The headline reads, for the U.S. News section of The Guardian, Jack Smith testifies evidence showed Trump crimes in 2020 election. So, former special counsel defends indictment in his first public testimony, saying evidence met the criminal standard. So let's talk about this article and what's going on here. Jack Smith, the former special counsel, has begun his first testimony about his criminal investigation into Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election results as he appears before the House Judiciary Committee Thursday. Oops, there we go, we got it back. Quote, as I testify before the committee today, I want to be clear. I stand by my decisions as special counsel, including the decision to bring charges against President Trump. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal activity, end quote, Smith said. The hearing follows a closed door interview last month that lasted for more than 8 hours as he defended his decision to indict Trump and obtain metadata of phone calls made by Trump-allied lawmakers in Congress. Smith was appointed in late 2022 to oversee 2 criminal investigations into Trump that had begun at the Justice Department before his arrival. Trump's retention of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago club and his alleged push to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Give me a moment here. I had to wipe my nose. I didn't want to do it in front of the camera. So the cases were dropped after Trump was elected to a second term, with Smith citing judicial precedents that prevented prosecutions against the sitting president. He instead completed reports into both of the cases before resigning from the position before Trump took office. Most of the December interview focused on the election interference case after Smith declined to answer questions about the documents case on grounds that Eileen Cannon, the U.S. District Judge in Florida, appointed by Trump, who dismissed the case, also blocked the release of Smith's report. Isn't it ironic how only Democrats are being subpoenaed and being prosecuted at this point in time? My mother used to tell me something growing up. If something appears to be too perfect, then something is wrong with it. Nobody goes through life squeaky clean. I don't care who it is. Many times individuals love to hear wonderful things about themselves. Human beings love to be praised, no matter what. They want to be adored. They want to be worshipped. They want to be praised. And former special counsel Jack Smith, he said he stands by his work, and he said he's not going to take it back. So Republicans spent most of their time, grilling Smith on his decision to successfully obtain so-called troll records for phone calls made by Trump and his lawyers to at least 9 Republican senators who were pressured to stop the certification of the 2020 election results. Troll records do not pull the contents of the calls, and Smith defended the move by saying they were needed to recreate a timeline in court. He added that none of the senators were targets in the criminal investigation. This Auspice Senate. The do nothing Senate, the obstructionists that are in the Senate right now, they always seem to find the time to grill, condemn, and judge anybody that's not aligned with their ideologies and their political purview. They have all the time in the world to sit around and do stuff like this, but they won't do anything to help the American people. Where's the help for healthcare? Where is the help for people who are going to food pantries by the hundreds of thousands trying to get food? Where's the help for single mothers who are struggling to make ends meet? Where's the help for escalating food and gas prices? Where's the help for those who are unemployed and cannot find a way to make ends meet? Where's the help for them? Where is the help for our seniors who are suffering greatly and can barely make ends meet? These are the same people who want to retain power and trying to make you and I think that everything is rosy and wonderful here in the United States of America as we head into the midterm elections. You know, once the summertime is over, and I'll be glad when the winter passes, when the spring is over, and the summer is done, and once they come from their summer break, they will hit the campaign trail, reading from their talking points, trying to make people believe that everything is wonderful and rosy in America. And I think they are in for an unpleasant surprise and a rude awakening. People are not going to forget. They're not going to forget everything that's going on in this country and in this nation. Now, back to the article. So, Jack Smith ultimately laid the blame for the investigation and the decision to obtain the call records of senators with Trump. Quote, "I did not choose those members. President Trump did," Smith said then. He also pushed back at Republicans' assertions that the toll records were protected by the First Amendment, accusing Trump and his allies of exploiting the January 6th Capitol riot to further a criminal scheme. Smith said fraud was not protected by the First Amendment. Quote, "He was free to say that he thought he won the election. He was even free to say falsely that he won the election," Smith said. But what he was not free to do was violate federal law and use knowingly false statements about election fraud to target a lawful government function, end quote. Trump has repeatedly called for Smith to be prosecuted for investigating him, but there did not appear to be a clear avenue of misstatement from Smith that could, from the basis of a criminal referral to the Justice Department. You know, Jack Smith has stood his ground, and whether people agree with him or don't agree with him, he said he is not going to plead guilty to something that he didn't do. Now, this story right here is alarming, as reported by the Washington Post. And this article was written for the Washington Post by Andrew Jiang. ICE detains 4 children from Minnesota school district, including a 5-year-old. So what in the Sam Hill is going on here down in Minnesota? Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents in Minnesota have detained at least 4 children from the same school district this month, including a 5-year-old boy, school officials in a Minneapolis suburb said Wednesday. The events have inflamed tensions between residents and ICE officers, sparked by the fatal shooting of, it's not a shooting, the murder of 37-year-old Renee Goodby, an ICE officer this month. The Trump administration has sought to justify the presence of ICE agents by saying that the officers are detaining immigrants convicted of violent crimes. So a 5-year-old is a criminal? 4 children are criminals now. Is that what they're trying to make people believe? I warned you. I told you what's going to happen. Y'all don't believe me. When innocent children start getting killed, and they will, because these cowboy rogue ICE agents, they believe that they're above the law, they have total immunity no matter what, and they're going to end up killing some children. and then try to justify it. And then you know what's going to happen? People are going to turn on them like never before, because you're not going to be able to justify the killing of little children. And children are being arrested. Children are being handcuffed. Children are being detained. Now this is insidious. And eventually, they're going to start shooting, and they're going to say it was an accident. We didn't mean to do it. It was a stray bullet and all that kind of stuff. Mark my words, it's going to happen. And it's not going to be nice once it happens. It's coming. It's going to come, as I said before, until it comes to your city, your town, your neighborhood, your suburb, your church, your country club, your little nice restaurants, your pub, where your friends, neighbors, and associates are being affected. The vast majority of people don't care. So, quote, why detain a 5-year-old Cena Stimpett, the superintendent of the Columbia Heights Public Schools district located just north of Minneapolis, said at a news conference. You cannot tell me that this child is going to be classified as a violent criminal. Let me read this statement. Promote fear. 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father, whom the Department of Homeland Security identified as Agent Alexander Cornejo Arias, in an email statement, were detained in their driveway Tuesday afternoon just as they were returning from the child's preschool, according to a news release from Columbia Heights Public Schools. The father fled on foot when ICE officers approached him, DHS said. For the child's safety, one of our ICE officers remained with the child while the other officers apprehended Arias, it added. After detaining the father, ICE officers then asked Liam to knock on the doors to see if any other people were inside the home, using a 5-year-old as bait, according to the school district. Another adult living in the home, who was outside at the time, begged the agent to leave the child with them, the school district said. The agents refused. Liam's middle school-aged brother returned home 20 minutes later to find that his younger brother and father had been taken away. Liam and his father are now in San Antonio in the custody of Homeland Security officials or authorities. The family's lawyer, Mark Prokash, said in an email they are not U.S. citizens, but have been following the legal process perfectly, from presenting themselves at the border to applying for asylum and waiting for the process to go through. Now, here is a photo released by the Columbia Heights Public Schools, claims Ramos was used as bait. Well, there it is. Let's get back to the article. DHS said it was not targeting Liam, and that ICE's policy is to ask parents if they want to be removed with their children, or ICE will place the children with a safe person designated by a parent. It was not immediately clear why ICE officers had not left Liam in the care of the adult whom school officials say had begged the officers to leave the child there. Ella Sullivan, Liam's teacher in the district's pre-kindergarten program, said at the news conference that Liam is a bright young student. He's very friendly. He comes into class every day and he just brightens the room, she said. His friends haven't asked about him yet, but I know they'll catch on. 3 more students at Columbia Heights have been detained this month by ICE officers, according to school officials. A 17-year-old high school student on their way to school was removed from their car earlier Tuesday and taken by armed and masked agents. Believed to be ICE agents, according to the news release. The parents were not present. Last week, ICE agents pushed their way into an apartment and detained a 17-year-old Columbia Heights high school student and her mother. A week before that episode, a 10-year-old 4th grader was detained by ICE agents with her mother, During the arrest, the child called her father to tell him the ICE agents was bringing her to school, the district said. The father immediately came to the school to find that both his daughter and wife had been taken. The girl and her mother are in a detention center in Texas. This is America at this point in time. All right. Here's another story. The U.S. has decided that it does not want to be a part of the World Health Organization. The United States, this article was written by Helen Branswell. She's the infectious disease correspondent for STAT. I'll find out what that acronym means in a moment. The United States withdrawal from the World Health Organization became official Thursday, formalizing a fissure between the Trump administration and the Geneva-based Global Health Agency that dates back to the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thursday marks the one-year anniversary of the date on which the WHO, the World Health Organization, was informed that President Trump had decreed that the U.S. would terminate its membership in the organization, something he tried to do during his first term in office, according to a joint congressional resolution passed in 1948 to allow the United States to join the WHO. The country had to give a year's notice before withdrawing. The joint resolution also stipulated that the country had to pay outstanding bills before leaving, a condition that has not been met. The executive order Trump signed on his first day back in the White House cited the WHO's, quote, mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic that arose out of Wuhan, China, and other global health crises, its failure to adopt urgently needed reforms, and its inability to demonstrate independence from the inappropriate political influence of WHO member states. When the pandemic occurred, how can you contain a pandemic, something that's infectious and contagious? How do you politicize it? How do you say that it's the fault of the World Health Organization? The WHO has yet to officially acknowledge that the U.S. is leaving, insisting that member states will have to determine the country's status in the organization going forward. You know, logic is everything sometimes. A lot of people just don't think. This is a stipulated fact. A lot of people are not thinking. They say stuff without thinking. They make conclusions without thinking. They draw innuendos without thinking. They draw hypotheses without thinking. And just because you say something doesn't make it true if you can't prove what you say. Just because you say because you said it, that doesn't mean that it's true. Many times when I'm talking with people, they just make it up, thinking that somebody's supposed to just believe what they're saying. Just because you're emotional about something doesn't mean it's right. Just because you're loud and boisterous about something, it does not mean that you've took the right position on the topic. The power of a debater is to persuade the audience in an articulate fashion. Sometimes you can use homegrown language that your point of view is the right point of view. This article right here is going to stun you. Prosecutor stunned as ICE lets suspect in a $100 million jury heist leave the U.S., according to The Guardian, as reported by the Associated Press. Well, let's unpack this story and find out what's going on here. Federal immigration authorities allowed a suspect in a $100 million jury heist believed to be the largest in U.S. history to deport himself to South America in December, a move that stunned and upset prosecutors who were planning to try the case and send him to prison. Jason Nielsen Priscilla Flores was one of 7 people charged last year while stalking an armored truck to a rural freeway rest stop north of Los Angeles. and stealing millions worth of diamonds, emeralds, gold, rubies, and designer watches in 2022. The rest face up to 15 years in federal prison if convicted on charges of conspiracy to commit theft from interstate and foreign shipment and theft from interstate and foreign shipment. He pleaded not guilty to the charges. U.S. or ICE deported Perez in late December after he requested voluntary departure, prosecutors said in court filings. ICE did not immediately respond to an email seeking comment. Flores' attorney, John D. Robertson, motioned to dismiss the indictment against his client, asking for the charges to be permanently dropped and the case closed. Wait a minute, hold up. Let's back up here. $100 million heist, and he's not brought to trial, and he's allowed to self-deport. This just doesn't pass the smell test. It doesn't. It doesn't. I don't even have to read the rest of this article to know that something's wrong here. It's not passing the smell test. What do you think about it? It's important for people. Let's go to the BBC, as I said. It's important for people to really think. You know, it's really important for people to think. We have to use our minds, ladies and gentlemen. Don't allow AI to think for you. Don't allow Meta to think for you. Don't allow subliminal messages from the propagandists, from the repetitive, recycled news analysts that say the same thing. They all have the same talking points at the same time, just with variables in between from the same network all day and all night. Something is wrong if everybody is saying the same thing the same way all the time. Remember George Orwell's book, Big Brother is Watching, 1984. People are not using their minds. First story up, according to the BBC News, British Broadcasting Corporation, the headline reads in an article written by Kirina Kolbina and Maya Davies. President Trump's son called the UK police after seeing a woman beat up. President Donald Trump's youngest son contacted UK police saying he witnessed a friend in London being, quote, beat up during a video call, a court has heard. Barron Trump, who is now 19, told police that he had friends call 999 from the U.S. so that he could report the alleged attack in January 2025. Mativi, trying to pronounce this last name. It's kind of hard here. I got the first part. Mativi. I'm gonna give it a shot. If I can't get it, it's not illiteracy. It's just hard to pronounce. Okay. Even if I'm wrong, I'll try to pronounce it. Rumaya and TVs. That's as close as I can come. Who is 22, is on trial at Snaresbrook Crown Court, accused of assault and 2 counts of rape, among other charges against the alleged victim, who cannot be named for legal reasons. He denies assault, actual bodily harm, 2 counts of rape, intentional strangulation, and perverting the course of justice by pressuring the woman to withdraw her complaints. Trump called the alleged victim on the 18th of January last year, the court said. Shortly after placing the call, the U.S. president's 5th child contacted the police and said she was being assaulted. Kudos to him. Mad props to Barron. I'm calling from the U.S. I just got a call from a girl she's getting beat up, he said, according to a transcript of the call released by the Crown Prosecution Service. Quote, this was happening about 8 minutes ago. I just figured out how to call someone. It's really an emergency. When asked by the operator how he knows the woman, he said, I don't think that these details matter. She's getting beat up. Oh, but okay, fine. Also, I met her on social media. I don't think that matters, end quote. So he was further questioned by police to provide a witness statement and said in an email on the 2nd of May that what he saw had been very brief indeed, but indeed prevalent. So that's the first story from the BBC. There's some more stories. Okay, Trump sues JP Morgan for $5 billion over account closure after the Capitol riot. All right. What in the Nestle Quick is going on with this story? As reported by Natalie Sherman, a business reporter, President Donald Trump has filed a $5 billion lawsuit against America's biggest bank, JP Morgan Chase, accusing it of illegally closing his account for political reasons. The lawsuit, which also names bank's chief executive, Jamie Dimon, as a defendant, alleges that Trump and his businesses suffered considerable financial and reputational harm after the bank abruptly closed their accounts in 2021. The accounts were closed shortly after the 6th of January 2021 riot when Trump's supporters descended on the U.S. Capitol to disrupt formal ratification of the election results. A JP Morgan Chase spokesperson said the suit has no merit. JPMC does not close accounts for political or religious reasons. We do not close accounts because they create legal or regulatory risk for the company, the bank added in a statement. The lawsuit, which Trump said was coming over the weekend, is the latest clash between Trump and Dimon, who has led JP Morgan for nearly 2 decades. In recent weeks, Dimon has also spoken out against the administration's proposal to cap credit cards and criticized his immigration policy and posture toward the Federal Reserve. The complaint was filed in Florida, which bars banks from discriminating against clients for their political views. In the lawsuit, a copy of which was obtained by the BBC's U.S. news partner, CBS, Trump says JP Morgan's decision to close its accounts was a, quote, key indicator of a systemic, subversive industry practice that aims to coerce the public to shift and realign their political views. I'm going to leave it right there. Well, how about this? Anybody has the right to sue anybody for whatever purpose they deem to sue them for. Well, why is it that when billionaires are arguing and fighting over money and things of that nature, how come everyday people don't have the same rights to sue them? How come everyday people don't get a chance to deal with what they consider to be injustices? This is neither a black or a white issue. I'm just talking about injustice, when it comes to banking and white collar crime and things of that nature. Everyday people are being taken advantage of by big corporate America every single day, but nobody hears their complaints. They get taken advantage of by banks every day, but no one listens to them. That's one of the biggest problems in America. No one is willing to listen to everyday people because they don't consider them relevant. They don't consider them important. They think that their voice means nothing. That's why on this channel, I call it FUBU, quote, end quote, for us, by us. I make content for the people that I know within my community and my surroundings, because I want to break stuff down to let them know that you are just as important as anybody else. Your opinion matters, your thought matters, your existence matters, everything about you matters. And we need to be informed from a different perspective about the things that are going on in the news media, because whether people like it or not, the black voting bloc is still a powerful voting bloc in America. No one's going to erase our voices. No one's going to silence us. No one's going to tell us that we don't matter. No one's going to tell us that we can't have a seat at the table. We're going to start our own political action committees known as PAC and support the candidates who will fight for us, support candidates who espouse our political ideologies, support candidates who see our views as important, support candidates who allow our voices to be heard. And if it means we have to raise up a new generation of political activists and political candidates, then so be it. Because some of the status quo of black candidates who have already been out there, they don't fight for everyday people. So corporate America is still corporate America at the end of the day. Here's an article from BBC News. A German nurse has been jailed for murders that could be linked to 100 or more deaths. This article was written by Bethany Bell and Rachel Hagen. An ex-nurse convicted of murdering 10 patients in Western Germany may be linked to more than 100 additional deaths, an official has said. The chief public prosecutor in HN Kacha, I do not speak German, y'all, so I'll spell it out. SCHIENKERMANN hyphen PITTS Pitts, told the BBC that there was, quote, a correspondingly high number of suspicious cases under review. She cautioned that the cases represented preliminary suspicions and that some could be dismissed following forensic examination. In November last year, a regional court in Aachen convicted the former palliative care nurse, palliative care nurse who has not been publicly named, of 10 counts of murder and 27 counts of attempted murder, sentencing him to life imprisonment. The court found that during night shifts at a hospital in Wurzeln, the man had administered excessive doses of sedatives and painkillers to seriously ill patients without medical justification. Prosecutors said the drugs were sometimes given repeatedly and that the defendant was aware of the potentially fatal consequence. Judges concluded that the actions were driven by personal unease and a desire to impose order during night shifts. The defendant denied the charges during the trial, stating that he had intended to help patients sleep and had not believed that medication posed a lethal risk given their underlying illnesses. So he just arbitrarily decided he was going to take matters into his own hands and just go ahead and over-medicate people and kill them. So basically, that's what it's tantamount to. That's what he is saying. But prosecutors told the court that he showed irritation and a lack of empathy to patients who required a higher level of care and accused him of playing master of life and death. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you have loved ones who are in hospice, who are in senior assistant living care, nursing homes, pay attention and check on your people. Did you hear what I said? Pay attention and check on your people. Do not just put them in there and go about your business. Don't even tell them when you're coming to visit. Just do random visits and show up. And listen to them if they're trying to tell you something. Look at them. Are they emaciated? Are they dehydrated? Are they hydrated? Does it look like they're starving? Does it seem like they are afraid to talk to you? Are they always looking around? Those are signs of elderly abuse. Those are signs of neglect. Do they smell? Does the place stink? Is the staff being over friendly to you every time you come there? Those are signs of abuse. And you do not pay someone or allow an insurance company to pay someone to abuse your family members. Are you listening to me? Make it your business to check on your loved ones. All right, here's some news about Russia. This article was written by Jessica Ronsley. France seizes a suspected Russian shadow fleet oil tanker in the Mediterranean. France says it has seized an oil tanker in the Mediterranean suspected of being part of Russia's sanction-busting shadow fleet. French President Emmanuel Macron said the tanker, named the Grinch, was subject to international sanctions and suspected of flying a false flag, quote, close quote. The French Navy, with the assistance of allies, including the UK, boarded the vessel today between Spain and Morocco French maritime authorities said that a search of the vessel had confirmed the doubts as to the regularity of the flag. Russia's embassy in Paris said it had not been informed of the seizure. Moscow's so-called Shadow Fleet is a clandestine network of tankers used to evade Western sanctions on Russian oil exports by shipping the oil on aids tankers with obscure ownership or insurance. The Grinch was traveling from the Arctic port of Murmansk in northern Russia when it was intercepted. French authorities said the vessel had been flying a Comoros flag, according to the ship tracking websites Maritime Traffic and Vessel Finder. Wow. Announcing the seizure on X, Macron said, quote, "We are determined to uphold international law and to ensure the effective enforcement of sanctions." So, as I said, there's a lot going on around the country and around the world, and I'm trying my best to keep up on top of everything and report as much of it as I possibly can. Keeping people well informed. As you know, it's been reported that we have a major storm coming up on the horizon. I'll try to get some relevant information about the storm and what's supposed to happen. All right, in politics from Politico, coming out of New York City, Mayor Mandani will face trade-offs in union-built affordable housing plan. This article was written by Janika. Why don't y'all get some names that people can pronounce? Sheesh. Chadaha. Mayor Zohran Mandani has vowed to dramatically expand affordable housing in New York City, and to do it with union labor, accomplishing two goals at once will not be easy. All right, this is one of the campaign promises he pledged. Mandani's rode to victory in November on a pledge of affordability and intends to triple production of city finance housing over the next decade. The 200,000 new homes he claimed during his campaign would be union built and geared toward households making less than $70,000 per year. The total price tag, a whopping $100 billion. That is nothing compared to what people spend on political campaigns. They spend $5 and $10 billion for political office that won't even pay them over $200,000 a year because it's about the power. That's what it's about. So, New York's new mayor is attempting to keep his pledge to blow out the city's affordable housing target and produce those homes at a relatively high cost. Will pose an early test of how he navigates competing priorities and difficult trade-offs. Achieving the goal will be extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible, according to more than a dozen former city officials, developers, affordable housing advocates, and budget experts. Politico interview. Well, guess what? If politicians want to get something done, they'll find a way to get it done. They'll find the money to get it done. In the city of Philadelphia, where I live, when the current mayor Sherrell Parker, wanted to build a brand new 76er stadium in downtown Philadelphia at the cost of over maybe $1 to $2 billion. In order to do that, they would have to replace all of Chinatown, tear it all down. But you know what? They said there was no money to be found to build a stadium down where all the other stadiums are. But guess what? They found the money. Several billionaires came forward and pledged mega money to build the Sixers' new stadium. So don't tell me that there isn't money available. There's money to feed the homeless. There's money to eradicate homeless. Politicians just don't want to do it because it's more profitable to talk about the problem instead of having the solution. There's a problem when it comes to joblessness in America. There's money to solve that problem. There's money to solve the food stamp crisis. There's money to solve what they said is welfare fraud. As a matter of fact, you're going to be surprised when I show you the woman who's behind the massive uh, welfare fraud scheme in Minnesota. You are going to be shocked when I show you who it is. And it's not what you all think. They said the brown Somalis were responsible. Well, because Somalis said they're not brown, they said they're not black, whatever. They said they were responsible, right? Wait until you see the picture of the person who's behind it all to the tune of $250 million. Scheming the governmental Department of Public Welfare and got rich off of it and put the blame on black people. So Mayor Mandami will have to contend with already existing fiscal roadblocks, rising construction costs, and imperiled federal resources. Building housing with union labor would add those challenges since funds aimed at massively expanding construction would not stretch as far as the policy would also mark a departure from the city's long-standing approach. Quote, we took a strong stance on not requiring union labor for construction on affordable projects, and we were willing to take the political hit, said Alicia Glenn, who served as deputy mayor for housing and led an ambitious production plan under former mayor Bill de Blasio. We would rather spend less money, work with more diverse contractors, and build more. It's just math. Well, what's wrong with using people who are unionized? What is the problem? Why can't you use both? Why can't non-union people and union people work together if you want to solve a housing crisis? It doesn't take a genius to solve problems. When you get a bunch of politicians in a room and business greedy people, well, you got chaos on your hands. Mandami stood by the union bill commitment during his campaign, even as construction unions backed former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who has long had a close relationship with the building trades. Even after Mandami trounced Cuomo in the Democratic primary, these unions stayed neutral in the general election. The pledge was an illustration of Mandami's ideological instincts as a politician, but also one that will likely bump up against practical realities now that he's mayor. Well, you know what? So be it. He should have challenges as mayor. It shouldn't be a bed of roses for him. He wanted the job. He's got the job. You got to take everything that comes with it. And he's proof positive that you can buck the political system and you can win. You don't have to belong to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. If you want to run for political office, you have that right. According to NBC News, in an article written by Ryan J. Riley and Gary Grumbach, Lindsay Halligan, who tried to prosecute James Comey, leaves her post as a top prosecutor. Attorney General Pam Bondi said Tuesday night that Trump loyalist Lindsay Halligan is leaving her post as a top federal prosecutor in Virginia. Her departure is a significant loss, blah, 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 for the Department of Justice. The announcement comes the same day a federal judge barred Halligan from masquerading as the top federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia. At the same time, U.S. District Judge David Novak said he would allow Halligan to avoid attorney disciplinary proceedings for now in light of her inexperience. Guess what? She was never going to be prosecuted, and she's still going to have a job. Did you hear what I'm saying? She was never going to be prosecuted, and she's still going to have a job. People, pay attention. Please pay attention and wake up to what's happening and what's going on. Novak issued an order that bars Ms. Halligan from representing herself as a United States attorney in any pleading or otherwise before this court until such time as she may lawfully hold the office either by Senate confirmation or appointment by this court should either occur. Halligan told NBC News in a statement Tuesday evening that she faced baseless accusations of lying as well as accusations of false or misleading statements. Well, you know what? If it's good for her to make that statement, then other people can make the same statement as well. See, that's what folks don't understand. One group does not get to say that they are always right, and everybody else are always wrong. And that's the problem in America. Either you with a group of people and they say, okay, everything is wonderful, or you're against them and then they say everything is bad. Polarized politics. Let's go to complex news. Oh, that's the BBC. Complex. All right. Well, you know what? Once I end this video, well, let's see. For those of you that are a John Cena fan, here's how you can get the complete ex WWE John Cena t shirt and how to buy it. The collaborative tee celebrating one of wrestling's most iconic figures is available now. This is on Complex. The Complex ex WWE John Cena tee is available now on Complex, celebrating one of the most recognizable names in wrestling history. John Cena's influence extends far beyond the WWE ring. For over 2 decades, Cena has been a cultural force, blending wrestling, hip hop, and streetwear in ways few athletes have managed. From battle rapping in throwback jerseys to rocking crisp tees that became part of his signature look, Cena understood clearly on what you wear in wrestling matters just as much as what you do in the ring. His connection to street where culture runs deep, making his collaboration between Complex and the WWE a natural fit. How about this? Vince McMahon, when he was at the helm of WWE, he wanted a white boy that could act black and that could act thuggish, but he still wanted him to be white. And John Cena was recruited from the independent wrestling circuit. And he packaged, cultivated him, marketed him under the mantra of thugonomics. Remember that? Then thug life. That's the bottom line. You know, it's ironic with all the black wrestlers that you have in the WWE, uh, like the Street Profits. What happened to them all of a sudden? They've just been axed out completely. Triple H used them just for jobs, to job them every step of the way. And now they're nowhere to be found. Why? Because Triple H wants his version of what the WWE is. So I don't want to hear all this crap and malarkey that there's not racism in wrestling. Yes, there is. Those who are the practitioners of it are always saying it doesn't exist. And a lot of the black wrestlers go along to get along because they want to be in the business, and I don't blame them. I can't fault them for that. But don't try to make it look like John Cena created something that wasn't there before, because our brothers and sisters who are in the wrestling business have always been themselves. Always. You can go back to the early days of professional wrestling. The reason why Virgil Runnels, aka Dusty Rhodes, became a success because they wanted a white guy who could sound black, look black, and act, well, he didn't look black, but act like he was black. It went over big until he got tired of that gimmick and then decided, I don't want to do that no more. All right, here's some news about Logan Paul. Logan Paul calls out OnlyFans star over an AI photo of him. She lied, and he said it cost him $10,200,000. So what's going on with Logan Paul? You know what? I'm going to tell you something that I think is going to shock most of you all. I like Logan Paul because I think Logan Paul is an original character in his own right. Logan Paul is going to be and they're grooming him now. He's going to be one of the next biggest superstars in WWE because they're going to have somebody ultimately to replace the image of a John Cena. And Logan Paul fits that bill. Right now, he's one of the biggest heels in professional wrestling or sports entertainment. But they're going to repackage him, they're going to remarket him, and they're going to make him one of the best fan favorites of all time. Watch it, it's coming. All right, Logan Paul has accused, did I give Maggie Eckberg her credit. This article is written by Maggie Eckberg for Complex. Logan Paul has accused an OnlyFans creator of circulating a fake AI image that disrupted his record-setting Pokemon card auction. In a video posted Wednesday, January 21, titled, quote, "She lied and cost me $10,200,000, end quote. Paul said he woke up to a text from his publicist showing a press release photo of a woman in a Pikachu costume wearing what appeared to be his Ultra Rare Illustrator Pokemon card around her neck. The image, which ran on TMZ and other sites, claimed the model submitted a private $10.2 million offer for the card. There's only one problem with that, Paul said in the video. It's not real. It's not a real effing photograph. I never met that girl, quote, close quote. The woman, identified on Instagram as @bunny.emi, later responded in a video of her own, admitting the image was AI generated, but still claimed she wanted to buy it. Wow. Now that I have your attention, Logan. She said, now that I have your attention, Logan, yes, that pic was AI, she wrote on Instagram, but I actually didn't lie. I love Pokemon, and I've been collecting for years. She went on to say she planned to attend the live auction in Philadelphia and might still place a bid through Golden. The rare card, which Paul purchased in 2021 for, listen, now I don't know if this is true or not, for 5.270 million, a later wore around his neck during a WrestleMania appearance, has already broken his own record as the most expensive Pokemon card in history. It says in the article, submitted a $10.2 million private offer, Paul said in the vlog. They quoted saying, I offered Logan 2 times what is being built at auction right now. It has true meaning to me. And Paul said he has no plans to sell the card, period. Okay. All right, let's find out what's going on in sports. Naomi Osaka apologizes after tense exchange with Sarana. Tisa, I don't like disrespecting people, quote, close quote. This article was written by Martin Kempt for Getty Images. You know what? I might do this in a separate sports section. I'm not going to do that article. I'll come back to this one. It's almost time for me to wrap it up here on the news sector. Is there anything else that I want to talk about? Nope, we're good for now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take a break, and I will be back later on with some more stories, some more interaction, so everybody can stay updated. But for now, I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for hanging in here with the brother. To my peeps out in Philly, what's up? Y'all know how the brother does it. Holler back. Never surrender. Never quit.